Slurmcast, a podcast for no reason. Today we'll be discussing Season 4, Episode 8, Crimes of the Hot. My name is Michelle Burlingame. With me are Tommy Roulette.
How's it going?
And Pete Woodward.
That's me.
Joining us today is very special guest, comedian Ramon Rivas.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man.
It's before we go any further, I think we need to make this abundantly clear. Our gratitude for all of your help in helping us promote this show inadvertently.
No problem, man.
But the night I ran into you in January in LA and I said, should I go to Hot Tub or should I go to Doug Loves Movies? And you said, go to Doug Loves Movies.
Yeah.
And that night I got us mentioned on Doug Loves Movies.
Oh.
So you and Benson and Chris Hardwick are now the patron saints.
Cool, man.
And to make it even, I think I might have texted you this. It was late at the end of the night. But when I got back to my hotel room that night, somebody had been smoking weed and it stank like weed. I'm like, it's a Christmas miracle.
I was there like a little ghost from the future.
Yeah, perfect. This Jumbotron got real weird. It was, I think, a fake Mickey Mouse blowing a trumpet into a wolf's mouth so that his ears were exploding.
Yeah, he had eardrums.
Did I see that right, Tom?
Yeah, I think it was. It was called Much Ado About Mutton.
That was the original cartoon?
Yes. 1947 or something.
They loved puns.
and apparently
racism.
psychedelics and racism.
Yes.
And racism.
There's been a whole like spate of Bosco cartoons throughout this because they just throw like that public domain thing right up at the beginning, and invariably I can't wrap my head around any of it. So I bring it up, and then Tom tries to explain it, and we get to where we are now. This was an interesting episode. I had a lot of questions about it as we went through.
I really like this episode.
I thought
it
it
has
was
one of my
pretty good,
favorite
too.
It's a good.
lines in it.
But I think I'm trying to remember what episode it was because I don't know what day it is, and this one we're recording sort of out of sequence. But we used to do the questions of asking people their relationship with the show, right?
Yes.
So, what is your relationship with Futurama, Ramon? How did you come to it?
Pretty. I mean, I remember watching it as it was on, and they kept changing the times. I remember when it was canceled originally. I mean, it's definitely one of those shows that I throw on as background while I'm doing work or doing other things.
That's a very popular place for it.
Yeah, it's because it's got quick jokes. Like, it's interesting, like, watching it. Like, I watched it with, like, my nephews and nieces as well, who they're, I think when we started watching it, they were, like, in the 8 to 12 age bracket range. But a lot of Futurama's, like, pop culture references, but, like, satirically done.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to watch it as a person who knows what they're satirizing, and then with people who have no frame of reference and still laughing. So it's interesting that the humor is just joke writing. Like the reference is there, but it's also just the structure of the. I remembered this episode as soon as I started reading it because I like it because it has all the good ancillary. It's got the newscaster Morbo. It's got Farnsworth. It's got all the the good foils that are like. They can't carry a whole episode, but for like snippets, they add contour. And
Oh, there's a ton of good Morbo in this one.
Yeah.
Sometimes that happens.
His head going.
Swelling. That happens on this show sometimes where I'm just old enough to know shit that, like, I think there's a couple episodes you go like, I don't know what the fuck this means.
I made myself a note to ask Pete about Dukakis.
But it reminds me a lot of the Bugs Bunny cartoons I watched when I was a kid because they were pop culture references of jokes. But I shouldn't know what this is, see? But I know it through this cartoon, which kind of Futurama kind of carries that torch.
I'd never even thought about that. That's like just that. I mean, because I think it's the same thing. It's like that Edward G. Robinson, right? Like it because of Bugs Bunny or Elmer Fudd or whoever.
Yeah,
and at some point. Way after the fact, I kind of put the pieces together, but I wonder what
I still can't, to this day, if I hear certain pieces of classical music, I just have a vision of the cartoon part from that.
Yeah.
Even, I've probably seen more Humphrey Bogart caricatures in Looney Tunes cartoons than I have actual Humphrey Bogart movies.
And Futurama was kind of the last place I remember there being like Mel Blanc was like a huge comedic influence just without realizing it, just because all the things he did with voices. But now everything animated, kind of the voices are famous already in some way, shape, or form from something else. I don't know, like the Futurama people is most like there's a couple name people, but for the most part, it's just like people who just crush voice acting.
Yeah,
like that's what they do.
Yeah.
So it's definitely one of the last places that is still a thing.
Yeah, because really anymore, if they're, they almost build
movie, like Disney movies.
Oh,
it's all
yeah.
people who are this name, that name.
or even the shows on Netflix. It'll be like, well, this is Bill Burr's cartoon, or this is Will Arnett, or
and it's
whoever.
their friends and their stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like like BoJack Horseman's amazing. Like it's cool. Like this whole season, like the newest one, I was watching it, and I'm trying to place who his sister, the female horses. I probably just ruined the whole season. But I was trying to place it. And I'm like, what is it? And I'm trying to think it. And I'm like, it's Aparna, which is really cool for me because I taped my half hour the same season as her, and like my family got there, and like we ate snacks, and then we sat and watched Aparna tape her special. So I got to sit with my mean niece next to her, like So it was cool. Like that's a cool moment. So like realizing that, I know that person. Like it's cool to have that like click over recognition.
For sure. And I think I saw her, the day after that Doug Loves Movies show at Nerd Melt, and she's
great,
funny, and like super nice. Just
fantastic.
like it's always a bonus.
Yeah.
Which is
that's
fun.
what's cool about voice acting now is most of it is people who are comedians who now they're getting these opportunities to do the voiceover stuff.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Like Ron Funches has been a voice in a couple of BoJack.
TJ Miller does a bunch of
Miller
crazy
does,
stuff too.
like commercial. Like so it's cool to see that, but then it's also like Futurama's nostalgic for me because like I don't know who Joe DiMaggio is other than
he's Bender.
He's just Bender. Like he does.
Or the what's the dog on
Jake
Adventure
the dog.
Time? Yeah.
Yeah.
Has Billy West ever done in front of the camera acting, or is he just straight up voiceover?
I don't know. I never really looked at his like filmography.
It's like Phil Lamar and
he's done
Katie
any.
Seagal have done
acting,
both,
Mad TV, and
But-
she's in all
but it is a
stuff.
very deep bench with like
Hank Azaria, he's done both.
Yeah.
but he's I wouldn't say more fame in voice acting, but that's probably where he gets most of his money.
anybody on
yeah.
the Simpsons.
Simpsons and all this other stuff. Like
They make so much money that Harry Shearer, is never satisfied ever. He seems like a very humorless guy for someone who's been involved in so many funny projects over the years.
I feel like a lot of very proficient comedy people are kind of not sourpusses, but like you're like I'm the same way. I'm very kind of just like people are like, oh, you're a comic. It's like, yeah, I'm just a quiet person, and
Save
then
it
like
for the
I go on
stage.
stage and just I'm not like I'm just talking, except I'm just as quiet.
Yeah. I mean, and your stage persona is not like an over the top kind of thing.
No, because I'm not an over the top type of person. There's
No.
some people who are that on stage, and there's a degree of that off stage too. But for me, it's
They're a little hard to take sometimes, though, right?
Harry Shearer. I mean, wouldn't you also be kind of bummed out if you'd been doing the same job for 30 years?
No,
That was the American
But, like-
dream.
I'm making mad.
Yeah,
dough.
but
and this is
You just
literally
get-
his job is this.
And he literally phones it in.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't even have to go anywhere. He just
Yeah,
has
but
like a
just
DSL.
after 30 years, though, it'd have to get you'd have to experience some sort of monotony or,
Yeah,
it's-
no, you get tired of anything.
you'd
That's-
have to.
That's why you get
even
more
if you
money.
love something, even a dream job is still a job.
Yeah, but I have to imagine that Harry Shearer is putting in exactly an hour's worth of work every week,
If that.
if that.
Yeah, I
from
don't
his
know.
house.
I think he probably doesn't have to go, but I think they still do like table reads. I think they still do like pre-production type of stuff.
I
before
thought
they
he
go.
doesn't leave New Orleans.
I don't know. I guess in LA, the people that are in LA, or he might like have to go and do them all at one
Yeah.
sitting. Like I don't know how they do it.
I mean, welcome
Whatever
to
it
Slurmcast.
is,
We just shit
poor
on Harry Shearer.
with all his money being
I
unhappy.
love Harry Shearer.
Yeah, he's a great dude.
Have you ever listened to Le Show?
I have.
I'm doing. I'm actually like my silence is replicating that now. He's got these long fucking pauses, and I can't listen to it. It's too slow for me. But I like Harry Shearer too. Lots of great work, and we don't need to talk about him anymore. I'm sorry I brought him up. That instant pool water that they had
included.
I don't know how that works, but I wish I did. It's like almost because they had to spray water on the instant water to turn it into more water, but it turned into more water really fast.
Yeah, with chlorine
and the dead leaves.
Yeah.
That seems like something that could get figured out with science.
I mean, I feel like it's the same concept of like dehydrated food that they send into space. Like you just add water and it adds whatever. It doesn't mean it's good.
So it's dehydrated water.
Yeah, which is oxymoronic.
Right.
It's hydrogen and oxygen. But like, I want to find a scientist to explain it to me because I feel like that could be done.
I mean, dry ice.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
It just.
I wish I was a scientist.
Oh.
It's also 1,000 years in the future.
That's true.
Yeah.
This is true.
That's science. We just don't have that science yet.
But
We haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah, Zoidberg was steaming in his own shell and needed to get into that pool.
How hot is it?
Why was Fry wearing a jacket and a hat? Like throughout the whole thing where everybody was
There's
dying.
a deleted scene
Okay.
that I watched. He puts his winter hat. He gets his winter hat wet and puts it in the freezer, so it's nice and cold. And then he goes, anybody else want to guess why I'm wearing my red wool underwear? And he pulls it out, and then Hermes looks in his glass, and there's little pieces of red fiber in his ice. And he's like, damn it, other people use that freezer. But that's the whole reason why he's wearing a hat.
See, that makes perfect sense. And I never even thought about doing that, but that's a smart idea. I mean, I didn't know if it was like, like the thing where like, teenagers won't dress appropriately for the weather because they don't, they want to mess up their hair or shit like that, or vice versa, where it's like you dress, you're like a crusty punk out in the middle of summer with like black leather on top of black denim on top of more black denim on top of all kinds of stink, and then it's just like just put on some cutoffs or something, Like at a certain point, your commitment to your look is making other people uncomfortable.
And you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't, I mean, are they worried about martyring or something?
I don't know, man. You'd have to talk to Danzig.
Then there's the guys that wear shorts,
cops.
long shorts all the time.
Yes.
No matter what time of
Like
My
year.
Kevin
uncle was
Smith?
one of those dudes.
What was your uncle not
My uncle is a shorts guy. Like Christmas Day, he'd come with his wife to my grandparents' house, shorts and a t-shirt, no coat, no hat, no gloves.
Is your
I don't
uncle
get it.
still a person?
Yeah.
Is he no longer a shorts all the time guy?
Is he a bigger guy?
He's not a small guy, but he's not like a big guy. He's
The way you phrased it, and he was a shorts guy, it either means
Like past tense.
Oh,
Yeah.
he probably still is. I just haven't seen him in a really long time.
oh, okay, because it was either that, like
He's still living. I'm sure he's still a shorts guy.
he got his wardrobe together, or he died. Were the two conclusions I could think of. So hopefully your uncle's doing well and has long pants.
The movie,
the movie,
movie that
yes.
they watch. That's the one. This is one of my favorite episodes, and
Because
that is one of the reasons because that is hilarious.
With the Human Torch looking sunbeam.
Yeah, and now I was watching this at work when I was at work, and Eric Kaplan, not that Eric Kaplan, but our
good
guest,
one.
the previous guest, said that he really wants to tattoo that on me now, where it's the sunbeam.
Oh, you should
and
get
Getting
it.
beat up by the greenhouse, gases.
gas.
It was there was the way that the host, because he was like a Rod Serling type guy in this instructional film, which by the way was getting played on Bender as a projector. Yeah. I don't know where the fuck that came from.
Bender's just used for everything.
I've got real deep-seated issues about that. Going back 60 episodes now, it's it's a whole thing. It's my own. I mean, they're my own issues. I own them, but sometimes I feel
For the
like
life of us, we cannot convince Pete that it's a cartoon. So
No, I know. Bill Squire almost got me to accept the cartoon logic aspect of it, and now I'm a little more open to it. But that sometimes it's like, no, this is not acceptable. But the host of the movie, when he's trying to explain to the little girl, like, oh, this is what happened, and we started dropping these giant ice cubes and things when our most handsomest politicians came up with the solution.
why haven't we tried that yet?
Global
Well-
Wawa.
But the thing when he yells at her, I think we solved the problem once and for all, and she starts to respond. He's like, "Once and for all."
Once and for all.
That
But-
is actually shown in the movie An Inconvenient Truth by Al Gore. He
Really?
actually uses that in that movie.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Is like, does this episode tie in with An Inconvenient Truth? Like, what's the time difference between the
Well,
two?
Al Gore is Emperor of the Moon in this
Yes.
episode.
With his
clear.
sweet like Dracula collar.
I mean, when this came out,
Yeah.
I don't know when. I've never seen An Inconvenient Truth.
It's also, I mean,
I think that was like 2000
06.
and I was gonna say 2005 or 6.
but even it's Farnsworth's fault because he invented sports utility robots, where it's the correlation to sports utility vehicles and the auto industry is like so like laid in there, but like they're letting you draw that conclusion on your own.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how they're just tying in like, yeah, technology is what does it. It's the people who do it, but like you can blame it on the technology if you want, but it's just people's consumption.
Yeah. It's hard. You get. I mean, it becomes a self-perpetuating problem. Like, I don't want to not have my air conditioning because like it's unbearable outside now. Even it was 80 degrees this week in October in Ohio. That's not right.
No.
And glad. Well,
and I need my aerosol cans.
Well, yeah, your hair doesn't just stay in place by itself.
Yeah.
My hair.
These whippets aren't going to do this.
Exactly.
There was a real quick. It's just like a quick shot that didn't really have anything to do with anything. But when Nixon shows up on the screen to give them the mission to go to Halley's Comet, Zoidberg, when he just stands up and salutes real quick, that was beautiful. It's like almost a throwback to the Taste of Freedom episode, but it was just so like. Does he remain as patriotic?
But that's
throughout-
because he's so dumb.
Well, him and Nixon are buddies now. That Nixon let him eat the flag on stage in front of the cameras and everything. But I feel like there's a lot of really good Zoidberg in this period. Even the
This has
stuff
got
at the
some
beginning,
good Zoidberg stuff
Like-
in it.
like when he was talking about steaming in his own shell, there was a lot of why not and whatevers.
And why not?
The big ice thing for Halley's Comet is also it's like the
styrofoam
second
cup.
part of this. Second thing why I love this so much.
Big giant
Yeah.
styrofoam cup on top of the Planet Express. That was one of my favorite visuals of this
Just
episode.
thinking about like it being styrofoam and they're trying to prevent
Yeah.
global warming.
The drill that they put on Halley's Comet is like an ice dispenser with a little lever that says push for ice. Like,
Well,
they just park the Planet Express.
How did they
underneath
get
it.
there so quick? That was the other
That's
thing.
the
I
whole
was wondering about.
space, man. They
I
have
know.
all that shit.
They have a dark matter drive.
I know, but it was
They have
like
access to things we
Well,
don't
where
have
would
access
Halley's
to.
Comet be in the year 3000?
somewhere within a
Right?
75-mile radius or 75-year radius, right? Unless it had completely disintegrated.
math. That's
Something
math
could
I
have bumped
can't
it and
do in
moved
my
it
head.
forward, or I mean, they also at the end of this episode move the Earth a little bit.
Oh yeah, that's a whole thing.
Oh,
That's like
I
some
spoiled it.
stuff. But I mean, comets are made out of ice. So how could the comet be out of ice? Unless it was just a dramatic.
It's just a joke, man.
I know, and it's this will be a recurring theme. It's just this stuff really it gets to me sometimes. But there was this goes back to what you were saying before, Ramon, about the references and how like your younger relatives don't get them, but you get them watching them with them. But like so much of this shit, and this is 17 years old or whatever, is timely now, and that's what's so fucked up about it. Just even the thing like there's no safer occupation than mining. Like That who knew that would be a crux of the election?
What about the
10 years later?
Fry's Yakov Smirnoff said it joke?
Yeah, throughout the episode. I don't know. Like that wasn't. He hasn't done. No, did he do that before? When he was doing his '80s nostalgia.
I think so.
Maybe that's where it came up from. Those are.
I love Leela's response.
No, he
didn't.
There's is he still like just running the show down in Branson, Missouri? I think that was his.
I think so.
That was his final refuge, like people who just want to remember the good old days of the Cold War.
Now, was he like an actual like popular comic? Was that
he's
like
huge?
Yeah.
like
Tonight Show.
He was the equivalent. He's like if like when Borat hit and was like everyone was like Borat.
Yeah.
He was that except just stand up.
okay?
Yeah.
So Sacha Baron Cohen was like a comedic actor, but that's not like
Right. No, I get what you're saying though. Yeah.
But he was that same cult, like maybe not that magnitude because Borat hit like
Yeah, he
hard.
was huge.
But he was like a working. It was weird. Like when I went and hung out at midnight one time, and Yakov Smirnoff was just like hanging out there. But then he was on like a week or two later. He was on it. So
He's just checking it out to get.
yeah,
get the lay of the land.
It's good. It's interesting. But yeah, he had his time.
So maybe you can spill secrets on it now that the show's off. They had a staff of writers, so would they
Yeah.
just have like jokes primed for people if they wanted them?
So the way it worked is you got pit. You were like, okay, you're on today, this episode. A couple hours before the show, they send you the packet of what the games will be. Each game has a set of example jokes.
Okay,
You are free to just use those example jokes
gotcha.
if you want, or you can write your own, or they have a writer who sits with you and will help you fill in any of the gaps.
Because there were a lot of guests that were not even comics. Really.
Yeah, they were just, I was on a couple times, like, Marcella writes Marcella writes, like, all her jokes.
Yeah.
Dan St. Germain was probably, like, 80-20, where he did a lot of dirty stuff, so that got cut.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did all my own. And then I forget who it was, someone I was on that just did, like, most, like, their jokes were just all in the packet, but then it's just, like, selling it.
Yeah.
So it's
Right.
like a weird, like, it's making it look like you just came up with it. 'Cause
Sure.
they're all just sitting on, like, note cards, like, in your podium.
It was fun. I mean, I guess that's almost the same kind of thing as Futurama, where it's a good show to have on in the background because you could tune in and tune out,
Yeah.
and it would just sort of connect or not. The Yakov Smirnoff thing, it's funny because he's still doing shit. But there was a sketch on the Ben Stiller show that aired in like 1993 that was called like, The Life and Death of Yakov Smirnoff. And it was after the Cold War. I mean, so that's going back 25 years was when he had already become like a has-been, so to speak, and has then found this whole second career doing his thing. I would imagine that he's moved off a little bit from in Soviet Russia, such and such does this, but that's what people want to go see when they're checking out the shows in Branson. It's just weird when Fry pulls stuff like that out because this is like 2002.
Mm-hmm.
That's like 10 years after. It's already like kind of gone around, so he's cycled back twice now.
Yeah.
And it all makes sense to us, as I'm sure your niece and nephew are like, huh?
But they're just laughing at the placement of the words.
Or
at
the
that
name.
point. Or the.
So what was it? It was the professor that said that the comet was out of ice like a space Motel 6. Was it him or Fry?
Yeah, Fry said that.
Yeah, it's Fry. I don't think Professor was on that trip to the comet.
I never use the ice machine at hotels. Those creep me the fuck out.
I don't think I have either. I think I've always intended to. I think I used it one time when I didn't have a fridge and I just filled the bucket up and then just like put my drinks in the bucket so they were cold.
But that like
I think
that's what it's for.
But I think it's for fucking though. Like it's sex ice.
Yeah, it is.
It's for sure
put
sex
you
ice.
put your champagne bottle in that
Oh,
bucket, and then you
okay,
go to the
okay.
ice machine, you fill it up, you get your champagne cold.
I thought like meant to ice things down afterwards.
Or like
that.
as like foreplay. Ice foreplay.
Oh shit.
You need to step your ice use up.
Well, I pretty much
Putting
travel
it
by
in,
myself.
in your drinks like a commoner.
Well, now if I stay at a hotel, 90% of the time it's got a fridge in it.
You stepped your life up.
Yeah, or at least my clients are paying for me to step my life up. but even then, like I'm not putting on airs or anything. I'll still drink my stuff warm, but it's nice to have options.
Good, man. I'm glad you're still a man of the people.
Is it this stuff, like look underneath the microwave in there. I got a bunch of these room temperature because that's it's delicious either way.
Same old G.
Yeah. And then this led right into the Morbo and Linda.
So they just gave up on getting ice for the ocean. Like, oh, fuck it.
That's it. Well,
That's
there's no
it.
more
There's
ice
no
to
more
get.
ice on the comet. Let's just forget this whole plan.
And
Go
wasn't
home and
there
not give a shit.
wasn't there at some point some plan to harvest ice from the Great Lakes and take it to the desert?
I don't know.
For like the California drought, I feel like they were taking water from the Midwest and like
I mean, I think Nestle's
transporting it,
trying to
but I
steal
don't
our shit
know.
anyway.
Yeah,
But,
Yeah.
no, Nestle steals all of them.
but I feel like there was. I'll have to look. It sounds like a dollop episode, so maybe that's something out there. But like, big chunks of ice out of Lake Erie that they were going to airlift somewhere.
I feel like it would melt.
So, but at this point, like, is Antarctica totally melted too?
In the episode?
Yeah.
Or, I think they also, once they can't put the ice cube in, everything starts melting.
Okay. And then it just goes
They
to
said
hell.
the poles melted, I believe in it.
Okay. The gay Noah's Ark was one of the best gags I've seen in this show. And it was so well executed.
right.
Where first there's the ark itself with all the animals, but then like
Some parts of the Bible I like, some parts I don't
I mean
like.
it was just because it hits all the right notes about what's ridiculous about shit like that. And I can't bring myself to go down to Cincinnati to that Creationism Museum. Did they finish the ark down there?
Maybe.
I don't know.
'Cause he was building the replica, it's the same guy that like had the debate with Bill Nye, and he's crazy, but he had been soliciting money to build the life-size Noah's Ark replica, and I think they're gonna fill it with animals too, like live animals, like a zoo, and the smells must be just unbearable.
Can't be good.
But I'm surprised they let Linda go on camera in her. I mean, she was fucked up. It wasn't just that her makeup was melted; like her
Everybody's
lipstick
got
was
pit
smeared all over. They're all
stains
pit stained out.
uh,
Morbo, like the
Morbo
that
is
squishy
pleased
head.
but sticky.
And then there's the poor turtle.
Poor turtle.
The poor turtles.
Why were the turtles going to the Netherlands?
Because
They were migrating.
they had to migrate.
From where?
Galapagos? maybe?
No, they weren't. No, it was not the Galapagos. It was just the fact that
This
they've
is where
never
they
been
were.
in Netherlands and now they're going there. So, but it's okay. Maybe those windmills will keep them cool.
Windmills do
Windmills
not
don't
work that way. Good night.
Have you ever been to the Netherlands?
Nah, man.
It's weird.
I can
'Cause-
imagine.
It's underwater. I mean, not literally.
Like sea level.
But literally,
though.
yeah. I was over there on tour once, and we were playing this town that was kind of like up in the northern part of the country. And we got to a place, we're wandering to stretch our legs. There's like these steps that just walk up to nowhere. Like they go up, and you're like, what the fuck is that? So we climb up these steps. And as soon as you get to the top, it's like, oh, there's the North Sea. Like there's a ramp
awesome.
with like a slope like this. Like you just walk into the water, and then you go down this hill, and there's a whole town and shit. Like if that ever goes up, like Den Helder's gone. And
Yeah, that's what sea level's about to.
when the coals melt, it's gonna get bad. Miami's fucked.
Yeah, man.
I think We're okay, right? I mean, that cliff
depends
over
what
there.
we is.
Well, like the coast of Lake Erie.
Yeah, probably. I mean, yeah, we'll be fine.
I hope so. I might have some like beachfront property in a couple of years. That would be fantastic.
Maybe, man.
if I don't float away.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that this was the episode where the bender on his back flopping became a thing, because that's in the game.
Yeah, that's in the game.
I like Leela's line when he says, we've got something in common. She says, what, you're both alcoholic, whoremongering, chain-smoking gamblers?
It's like, no, that's not it. But maybe they are. I mean, it just wasn't what was on the top of his mind. But that turtle could have been a total degenerate.
Mm-hmm.
Could have been. We'll never know.
It's I didn't realize at the point where the what's the civil, is it civil defense, like the van that was going
Yeah, the
around and
civil
announcing everything?
defense.
I didn't realize that was a robot.
Oh, the actual van?
Yeah.
Until later.
When it announced Al Gore.
Right, but when the guy came running out, they're like, we need scientists. And he's like, I have a degree in homeopathic medicine from Evergreen State College. He's like, you've got a degree in baloney. And just fire hoses him. But isn't Evergreen where,
That's where
isn't
the
that where
Simpsons
Steve
live.
Jobs went?
Matt Groening went there.
Okay, yeah, so that's
Yeah.
the same school. It's this school in Washington State that is one of those first super hippie schools where there's no grades, there's no real classes. You just go in and kind of figure your shit out and you basically just talk a good enough game and come up with a plan to get out. And
So like life.
no, but you have to pay to do this.
Oh.
And then when you get done, you get a degree and people think you're smart. And maybe you are, because you just spent your whole college career not, just making shit up. But the fact that that they called out that school on purpose, and maybe I didn't know Matt Groening went there, but that would make sense. But homeopathic medicine too, that was all gorgeous, just calling it out. And it's bad. So have they done? They haven't gone to Japan before this, right?
I don't think so.
No.
The sign in Kyoto, which is the anagram lowers Tokyo, was another one of my favorite jokes in the entire course of the show, I think. But I didn't catch all the other signs. There was the Curious Pussycat store. There's something else. Did you catch any of them?
That was the only one that I remember was the Curious Pussycat. It was supposed to be like Hello Kitty.
Yeah, but was it referring to something else? It sounds a little dirty.
No, I don't think so.
No.
This is just
I think it's just what they picked name-wise.
this Japanese strangeness.
There wasn't a whole lot of like background stuff in this episode that was like any better than what was going on in the actual
No,
scene.
for sure.
No Easter egg.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very much like foreground stuff. Although, well, no, because they have there's like the climate discussion with all the scientists.
Yes.
And the
you
whole
get
red carpet thing.
That and the moon sapphires. And because like the wizard, the evil wizard.
Oh,
Sure, blame the wizards.
what was that guy from? That character.
Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Was that the
Tim.
same one? Was he also in Time Bandits?
It's been a couple years since I've seen Time Bandits,
Yeah.
but probably. Very
Whenever you see a
likely.
guy with goat horns, it's A, probably Terry Gilliam's involved, and B, it's going to make me think of that anyway. So, I figured it was something like that, but I haven't watched the Holy Grail in a while. I love that Al Gore actually, again, voices his own voice in doing
Well,
this.
because his daughter was a writer
Is
for
she?
the show. Yeah.
Did we talk about that before?
I think we did at some point when
I
we
think
brought up
it was,
Al Gore.
It was on the episode that I was on when I was a guest.
Oh, it might have been.
Was the one with the Vice Presidential Action Squad or whatever
with
it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It all comes back around.
Stephen Hawking and Uhura and
Harry Potter the balance of Earth. I used to work in a bookstore, like when this was all airing, and I had like 3 authors that I hated, and I was like, I'm a reader, I like books, but I had to move so many fucking Harry Potter books and so many Nora Roberts books, and you get to staring at the back covers and you see the authors' photos, and you're just like, fuck you. And like case after case, and those Harry Potter books would come in, and it was like, under lock and key, because God forbid somebody got their hands on a copy beforehand.
Yeah.
And they disguise them as other things, like they put them in different boxes, and they'd wrap those in like opaque plastic wrap and shit. But recently, with J.K. Rowling being as fucking critical of our shitty president as she is, just vocally and frequently, I've come around on that.
Mm-hmm.
I still haven't really dug into the Harry Potter thing, but it's nice that she's willing to
You just dig her humanity.
yeah, just being able to like, hey, I'm a billionaire too. Fuck you. It's really great. And I ain't saying like billionaire too. Like he still hasn't proven that.
No.
Fuck that guy. But like it's interesting that even now you probably still use that like wrapper to get people to get into something else. Like
Using like a Harry Potter in the.
Has there been anything like literature wise to blow up that big?
Since then?
Yeah.
I don't think so. 50 Shades of Grey, maybe.
Yeah, maybe some of the
Or
Twilight
Twilight.
crap or like the Hunger Games stuff. I don't know. I'm probably there probably has been, but we're not as aware of it.
What's wrong?
'Cause
Oh, you aren't
Harry
reading young
Potter-
adult literature?
No. Harry Potter was big because it had that mass appeal to people of many ages.
Also, the
So-
witchcraft and Satanism.
That too. But yeah, I think there's probably been like a series that kids. I don't know any teenagers, so I can't tell you. But you'll probably find out in a few years when your daughter gets to be of that age.
Yeah,
don't-
there's a lot of movies that are coming out that are based on books that I'm like
Like the Percy
like
Jackson
teen-
stuff and
like teen
Lemony.
stuff.
Captain Underpants.
Yeah. Well, I knew that was a
That's
book.
it's like a kid book.
Oh, there's
so.
another one coming out that I saw. I don't even remember what it was called.
Does it look good?
No,
No?
it looks like something that is not in my
Wheelhouse.
demographic
Okay.
at all.
Yeah, that's the irony of all is I'll probably see all of this shit before you.
And I think it was like before It or something like that, which is weird because they usually show
Well,
stuff
it's
that
about
are
a
more.
bunch of kids.
That's true.
I mean, it all makes sense eventually. It's whenever Wernstrom shows back up, like shit's gonna go down. He's such an insufferable just
His idea was
ass.
awful too. Reflecting 40% of the sun's rays. That's too much.
That would probably create an ice age.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it
I
would.
was hoping that would be the joke, like that he'd reflect all this stuff back, and then everybody would start freezing immediately.
No, just the mirror turned around and fucking magnifying glass fire lined everyone.
What hit the mirror?
was like a-
like a meteor.
Just
Yeah,
a little
like a little
space
rock. Dink.
and it cracked it too. Mm-hmm. This is a terrible plan. He's a very arrogant scientist.
He's always just the worst. I think it was his first episode where he's like, I want this many interns, and then I want tenure, and then he's like, I'm not gonna fix anything. I have tenure.
Yeah.
You can't fire me.
Was that was
The
big
garbage,
hunk
the
of garbage?
pollution, yeah.
Well, and it was I want 5 interns and 3 of them need to be Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole flashback though with the professor, where he reveals that he's responsible for it. He's never used the memo ray before,
That
right?
Nuts to me, I'm taking the stage.
The little robot is like, man, give you a kiss on the forehead.
It was C-3PO.
And I didn't understand, why did he kill it after that? What was it about it wanting to be affectionate that he was like, no, this
'Cause
won't do?
Mom wanted some crazy killer robots.
Yeah, she always wants.
They were
killer
too
robots.
polite.
Oh, okay. That's the part I missed. Mom's a psycho,
Yeah, she is.
but she knows what she wants, though. I mean, she's
She
just
wants
like,
the professor.
let's go.
on the table in the lab.
right now, and his what did he do when he did the like? Is he just smelling his breath?
Yeah.
It's like such a weird.
Don't you all ever do that?
No, because I brush my teeth 6 times a day.
Oh yeah, that's
Remember?
right. We talked about this.
I try and be minty fresh.
The best way, actually, to know if your breath stinks is lick the back of your hand and let it dry and then smell it, which is kind of gross. But if you're in a pinch and need to know,
Does it have to be the back of your hand?
yeah, because of like sweat in your palm and stuff can make it.
I mean, could you
like
lick
it could be
like
your
your
arm, I
arm?
guess. Yeah, yeah.
Could you lick your elbow?
If you could,
If you can.
That'd be a trick.
Mm.
I'm gonna probably dislocate my shoulder trying that later. I just I didn't understand. And maybe it was just for comedic purposes, probably. But the sport utility robot was basically Bender.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know that
Looked
he's
like a prototype Bender.
yeah. It was like the first Iron Man suit when he like builds it out of
Yeah.
like the tank armor in the desert. But then everything it becomes destroy all robots instead of kill all humans. It's a nice twist on that. Why?
Bender folds up into his chest cavity like the turtle folds up into his shell. They try to get him to come back out with a Bender snack, which is the lowbrow beer, like waving the beer around, and Bender's trying to get it without coming out of his chest cavity.
You know what? I have to go back to destroying all robots real
Yeah.
quick. I was debating whether or not to say this, but whenever would an entire planet, let alone like just even a country, all agree to destroy or get rid of something to save something
That's
else?
what genocides are. Trump's literally like letting a natural genocide happen in Puerto Rico by just slow response. Like it happens all the time
Yeah.
in the world. The alt-right's hope for the Trump administration was they would do away with illegal immigration and legal immigration, which is worse because then they're here forever. And they're hopeful to attain a white ethno-state through peaceful ethnic cleansing, which is a real thing people think. And when you look at it subjectively, like, that doesn't make sense. But then, like, restricting healthcare, restricting education, slow responses, like, you know, even the California fires. Like, yeah, it's getting responded to, but, like, you haven't said anything. Like, do you just not give a fuck about a state that didn't vote for you just because they didn't vote for you?
In
Like,
his
it's just
case,
a
yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
and so it's just a weird, like, you're not saying that's what you're doing, but like you're just fine with things playing out slowly.
Yeah.
And it's not an intentional, like they're not running around hatcheting everyone in different pieces. Just, you know, they were just going to demagnify or electromagnify all the robots and they would just peacefully just shut off, even though they would always just cease.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I mean,
I was thinking of it in an opposite sense, just like with all the debate and no one can agree on anything.
Oh, yeah.
How like all of a sudden this is the problem, this is how you fix it, and then that's
well, because it literally became a question of extinction for people.
that's true.
Yeah.
I
And
guess
yeah.
I mean, and that's really what it usually has to come to. I mean, and it's it's exhausting to think about. Like like trying to understand that kind of mindset. It like physically hurts.
Yeah.
It's like.
Well, because there's not a lot of understanding built into that mindset.
Yeah.
Like it's a very. I was hanging out with someone and they have a mixed race kid and they said that their mom wouldn't even like touch the baby. And it's like, wow, like your hatred runs so deep that you can't even let love
Of
be
your
a
grandkid.
be a factor.
Yeah.
And so it's very like and it's just like that's just most people have like are fortunate enough to grow up in a world or in a type of world where like you're not that scared of other people or differences.
Right.
But apparently that's the like it plays out like right now with the NFL. Like people were protesting the NFL because of how they were treating Kaepernick for speaking up. Right. So there was a chunk of people already protesting. and then Trump reframed it to if you're protesting the flag and the troops and everything they stand for.
Right.
So then all these pro-patriotic people are boycotting the NFL. So the NFL's like, who's going to watch us? And it's like the apathetic people, which is most of
95% of the
like
population.
it's literally like 80% of your base is still going to be there. Like they don't give a fuck about
Either way, they just want to see big clouds.
They just want to forget. They just want to forget that shit's going on, which is whatever.
It's
or when their team gets to the playoffs and then they just don't care anymore and will start watching it. Because that's even those people that are like, I'm not going to watch it. You're eventually going to start watching.
Yeah, you're eventually.
I give like zero fucks about sports. I do not care. But when the Indians or the Cavs,
well, the NFL needs you to start watching. Now.
I know, but I'll check scores when that shit's like when they're popping off. At
when
the
it
end
becomes
of the
a point of civic pride, everyone gets involved.
Exactly. Like I understood the magnitude when the Cavs won that championship a couple of years ago. I still don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
it was like this is a big deal, and hopefully they'll stop. Like this year they won't fuck it up again.
Yeah.
Maybe next year the Indians won't either. But it is Cleveland, so I always thought that was like this is going deep and old, so bear with me. But like there was this whole thing forever and ever on the daytime Emmys where like Susan Lucci was nominated like every year for like 25 years and never won. And eventually she won. And it's like that's her whole fucking thing. So now it's just like who gives a fuck? And like that's like with the Cubs. Now, like, but now their story's over, like the good story. And now it's just, they won again. Now you can reset that clock and who gives a shit? Unless you're a Cubs fan, I guess. But like, I don't know if it's better with the Indians to be like consistently like a really good team without ever getting over the hump.
Yeah, I don't know. I also don't put I'm a fan of just Cleveland in general, so I'll support things. But like, it's funny the displaced passion behind, not displaced, you could be passionate about whatever you want, but there's so much passion for sports and this, that, and the other, but like not for parts of the city. Like I love Cleveland so much that like you have to love all parts of it. You can't just like the sports and the cupcake shops and the breweries. Like you also have to like, we have a pretty shitty police department that just like they rehired 5 of those cops that they fired because they were in that shoot where they shot 137 rounds at
that car?
And they rehired those 5 people, and that's whatever arbitration, whatever. But it's funny the lack of outcry or anger I see from people in general. Like there are some people who care, but for the most part, no one gives a fuck.
Right.
But if the Browns had rehired 5 people that they fired in that same time span, like there would be such an outcry for it.
Like,
but it's
literally riots in the streets.
But you don't care about things that don't affect you. So no one gave a fuck about the robots in the episode until it was like, oh, we're hot because of the robots.
Yeah,
by
robots.
Even though the robots are like allowing them to be as lazy as they possibly are, which kind of sports allow us to be lazy and forget. This, that, and the other, or what's going on with your day. You just
need
drink
your
a
escapism.
beer. Everyone has a different version of it.
Yeah, that's a point I've seen you verbalize a lot. In social media, especially when things like that. I mean, it's like, okay, how about you take 1/10 of what's getting invested into sports or whatever, and put that towards the arts and see where it goes. Because that's the, it's we keep getting fucking political because the world is on fire. It's the whole thing about like gutting the funding for the NEA and the NEH. It's like literally a sliver, so small in the whole budget that you can't even see it on the pie chart.
That's literally one bomb.
Yeah, but probably less.
Probably less than a bomb.
And yet that's like the target right away. And then you got to try and like step back and think, like, are they doing that to distract you away from something else? And then I fall into a puddle of like neurosis and
it's
fear.
And it's not like they all of a sudden switched and now all this shit. Like there's like my one friend Sam J had a good point. She's like, there's always been a shitty white dude in charge. This is just the most extreme version of it. So it's like it's jarring to the people that normally are like wink wink nose tap.
Yeah,
like this is fine. Now it's just like
It's all on the table.
It's all on the
It's
table,
fucking
which is like
awful.
jarring to people who are like, "That's what this table is made out of." It's like, yeah, that's what the table is made out of.
I think this is a nice cherry. It's
Very nice
I mean,
cherry.
it's a little battle worn right now. I guess Nixon's plan then to destroy all the robots is to have the ultimate robot spring break in the Galapagos Islands.
Yeah.
And Zoidberg is so proud of himself for figuring out the plan. I felt really good for him
It's a
until
trap
they just
is
shot him
why.
down.
Yeah, we figured that out already.
It was so uncalled for. Like, just let him have that little bit of joy. I mean, when everybody shits on Zoidberg, it just bums me out a little bit.
Yeah. It's funny, like every great show has that foil. Like Parks and Rec has Jerry.
Yeah.
And The Office had Kevin. And everyone has that like little mope they just never let win.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, which one was Kevin on The Office?
The bald accountant dude.
guy.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking Toby.
Oh,
Toby too.
I mean,
yeah.
I think 60% of the staff on The
HR.
Office was that guy. Like, they were all beaten down. Working in a paper company in Scranton will probably do that to you, or a bank in Cleveland, or a tattoo shop, or is that
I will
more
never
like,
be beaten down.
No,
Oh, I don't get beaten. No, I don't. No.
not even emotionally,
Nope.
metaphorically, spiritually, or is all positive?
No, I
happy
kind
feelings?
of like my job.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I kind of like mine too, but it's only because when I work with people, I get.
I've
to
also
leave
only
after a
been
while.
there for like
6
10
months,
months.
yeah.
So we'll see.
Mm.
You want to talk about people that have been there 7+ years? Then
think it's a little
you know.
different? So how does that work for you? Because you're basically an independent contractor. And you can come and go as you please. But is it better to get out and work with people you don't know, or do you prefer that, or do you like?
As far as like
Working-
who's in the crowd or like working on projects?
Because
Because like most of the things I have done in comedy are because of a connection I already had,
Right.
or had made along the route of doing comedy, where like now more things are dependent on me going in to people I don't know and being like, here's me doing this acting thing you want, or here's this idea for a thing, like give me money. So I'm trying to work with new people, but the most beneficial and most beneficial things I have done and the most fun things I have done have been with friends or people who I looked up to who became peers and mentors in
right.
that process. But it's a weird mix of both.
Because I have to imagine that by the same token, and like I get the ability to collaborate successfully with people that you love and admire and respect is like really satisfying.
Yeah.
But if you go into something cold and you kill it and you walk out with the job or the deal or whatever, like that's got to be a whole other layer of satisfaction too. Or just like this is just me and I did this.
Yeah.
And that's like you get to reinvent yourself any old time you want to. It's a pretty different thing. It's not just like showing up and getting. How do we even get here? We're talking about.
I don't even know. I was like, that's okay, but
Well, we're off the rails. The science on the island with the big robot party and then
Next
scrap
week,
metal
tomorrow,
giveaway.
big scrap metal giveaway.
But have any of you ever gone to like a spring break situation?
No.
no.
It
No.
terrifies. Like just the thought of it terrifies me.
I've been to New Orleans, which is kind of spring break vibes like all the time.
Yeah.
And walked down Bourbon Street. I didn't even make it 3 blocks. I had to get off and go down a side street. But it's just people drinking and
Just like
just being messes.
unhinged.
Yeah, just literally like woo. And it's people who are like probably very like meh.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're cutting loose in an extreme way because they keep it too tight during the year. I think the closest I ever got to it, and the only reason I bring it up is like it looked like everybody was having fun. And whenever you see like spring break footage, everybody there seems to be having fun. In theory, it terrifies me, and like I don't even know how I could handle it because too many people and too much like overstimulation and all that stuff. But there was this happened like 2 years in a row. We'd go on tour in the spring, And for whatever reason, we'd wind up in Daytona Beach the same time as Bike Week. So it was just like filled with bikers and their assorted hangers-on. And it was just pure insanity. Like just even, I don't know what they call it when like they speed, like they rev up and burn the tires on the road and it's like black.
Burnout.
Is that called?
Peel out.
Okay,
Burnout.
yeah. Just that going on all up and down the main drag the whole time and like just trying to get from point A to point B was terrifying. And then these are like methed out, crazy motorcycle people too. So it was like, it wasn't just like dumb frat boys, which actually are scarier to
Probably
me.
worse.
Yeah. This happened about 6 months ago. My wife and I were walking home from Side Quest, which is it's like a nerd bar. It's about a mile from our house. We were just walking down Detroit back to our place. As we were coming down, there's like this group of 3 clearly fucked up, like 20-ish frat guys. And we were like scared. Like, I don't get scared if I see a person of color walking across the street or like a homeless person or whatever. Like, it's fine. It's people of all these, but like 3 white guys in white baseball hats at 2 a.m. with a stumble on, that shit's fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
And the funny part is they thought they were going to Barrio to get tacos and they were about 2 miles away. Like they're just in the wrong fucking place.
No way.
I wasn't going to help them.
No.
I just wanted to get away from them as soon as possible.
Yeah, man.
You just stumble back to around the corner where they came from.
Or wherever.
Stupid bar.
Yeah, just a bad place.
Someone has met some shitty men at around the corner.
I think everyone who's gone to around the corner has
That's
met
just
someone
all they.
shitty
That's
there.
all they plan.
For decades now, that's been their bread and butter.
But they have great wings.
Really?
Lemon, I think it's the lemon pepper or garlic pepper wings are like.
So how do you obtain those wings without having to deal with the clientele?
I don't know. I did a wing crawl. I judged a wing crawl one year, and I took my nephew, and those were our favorite wings.
That sounds good.
I have some friends who used to cook there and did not hear the nicest things
Oh,
about
I'm sure
cooking the wings.
I'm sure it's not.
You just don't
Great.
just don't listen about things like that.
Yeah, because nowhere's great.
Yeah.
No, it's I worked at a BW3 for several years. It was not
Just bags of blood.
yeah
That's what I heard. It's
frozen blood.
just bags of blood.
Was this? I don't recall ever seeing Headless Agnew before.
Nope, this is his debut.
Was it him and Nixon turn into like a Voltron kind of thing, or is he just?
No, he just sits on top of it like that's his body.
Like a
and
pedestal?
That's his head. Yeah. It's his mode of transportation.
Or Agnew carries him around.
It was.
But I don't
very,
know where the noise
Yeah,
from
I was thinking
Agnew
that
is
too.
coming from.
Where's his voice coming from?
I
Because he
think just
goes
from his throat.
but
It made me. It was so Phil Hartman Frankenstein.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it warmed my heart. And then Hedonism Bot shows
It
up.
is
Was
the
this his debut?
Yeah, also.
Does he come back?
Yeah,
or is-
he's in
Yeah.
a lot. He's
Oh,
in a
yeah.
lot.
I mean, he's in the
yeah.
game for sure.
Yeah, he's in a. He's
I forgot that he wasn't in any episodes up until this point because he is such he becomes a pretty regular robot.
Really?
Like probably about as regular as a Calculon or
Wow.
You know.
That's,
every single robot except for what was it, Sanabot,
Flexo wasn't
Flexo,
there.
and someone else are like in this.
yeah.
episode.
Crushinator was in there in a big green thong, and
Do
she
you
was
want
ready to party.
dance. You know you want
Oh,
to.
the robot elders from Chopek 9.
They weren't there either.
No.
Maybe they didn't have their robes on.
They're probably on Chopek 9.
It's possible.
And it was just all the robots on Earth. It
Yes.
wasn't all the robots.
Right.
I don't think the Galapagos Islands are big enough to hold all the robots on Earth. At that point, it seemed like there'd be several.
Yeah, I know.
Well, at this point, there's probably not much wildlife on the Galapagos.
Well, the turtles are all in the
Oh.
Netherlands.
Yeah.
So,
But there's no turtles at the Galapagos.
And also, the island would have gotten buried under all the sea rise.
see,
Probably,
good
yeah.
point.
I'm right with you, Pete. None
Yeah.
of this makes any sense.
Oh, fuck.
It's like
all-
they're suspending reality and existing in the future.
Man. I mean, okay. I've tried to do this before, but if the Galapagos Islands are volcanic, it's possible that over the years they continued to grow as, the fissures cracked open and shot magma and lava into the sky, and then the islands would get bigger. So even as sea level went up, maybe the islands could go too. Viable?
Okay.
Sure.
I'll accept it.
Sounds like science. I found the solution that the professor came up with to move the Earth out of orbit using a concentrated burst of greenhouse gases. Was I guess it's about as viable as Superman spinning the planet backwards to turn back time. I don't think time works like that. Maybe on Krypton or something.
Wait, turn back time, what?
Superman flew around the Earth.
Yeah.
Oh, when
He'd
reversed.
fly backwards, and it was like a reverse
Duh.
time machine. I don't think that shit works.
I don't think so.
Superman is fucking things up.
But I think scientists said that the professor's solution would actually work if there was a way to do it.
Real
That-
scientists?
yeah. Like real scientists, I believe.
So do you think they
That guy was
vetted
not a
it?
scientist, Michelle.
No, I mean Evergreen State. His degree was baloney. But
I just worry that if you move it out of orbit, like, what if you run into Mars or some shit?
or
I mean-
like satellites
And
or
we're in place because of the gravitational pull of the sun.
Yeah.
So moving it slightly, it would be.
I think we
Alexa
just
was
turned on
talking.
Alexa somehow.
Oh, weird. We could ask her if it's possible
I don't know.
to do.
She
No,
doesn't seem
I
that
don't-
smart whenever I ask her something.
So they moved it farther away from the sun, right? So now,
So now it's cooler because we're not as close.
but we don't go in also the orbit isn't in a complete circle. So
It's
now we would have a
elliptical.
new orbit.
They say there's an extra week in the calendar
Ro-
year.
Robot
It's
week.
Robot Party
Robot
Week.
Party
It's
week.
a party.
Oh yeah. See, I missed the end of that, or watching the end of it, and
my
I
last
forgot
note.
all about
I
that
mean,
again.
I think that's the thing about this episode is it's sort of like nonstop until you hit the end, and then the bottom just drops out and it's done. Like it's very jam packed, and it was all kind of a story. There wasn't a lot of other stuff going on. It was
Yeah.
just like right in your face the whole time.
The-
It was enjoyable.
Really, what like there wasn't a bee
I
story.
mean, the
Not
B
at
story
all.
was Bender couldn't bend over or couldn't flip over.
Right, yeah,
That was
yeah.
the B story.
And even that was sort of like the dramatic device to resolve the A story too.
I just liked when Nixon was about to the Galapagos kill all those robots. The professor says, "Oh, the Jedis are gonna feel this one."
Yeah, oh God, there was a second tag to that though, wasn't there?
No.
Oh
There
well,
wasn't-
when the plan works and they have the medal ceremony, it's a lot like the ceremony in Star Wars.
Yeah,
Where he gets the what is it, the polluting medal of pollution.
and they're in like kind of that clamshell bandstand
Yeah.
sort of thing. But I thought maybe that was just the professor doing his little one-off. But yeah, overall, this is a fun episode. I had to watch 2 of them yesterday to prepare for this crazy week we got coming up, and they're out of order. So I'm glad that it was just like, oh, good. Like there wasn't no stinkers so far, and I'm kind of glad that I got to skip the one in the middle of the 2.
Yeah,
because that would
I
have
did.
been
I did the same thing today, Pete.
yeah. It's a little.
I'm not ready for that one.
No,
I am not prepared.
We'll
I'm just not gonna watch it.
and now as we're talking about this, when this comes out, it's all going to be past tense because it'll have happened
We're
before.
coming from the
The
future.
future. Anyway, overall, very good episode.
It was a good. I really like this episode.
There's a couple other questions that we've asked guests intermittently.
Okay.
One is,
Which character would you bang?
Would I bang?
that was Tom's question. He had a whole
That's not usually what we ask.
he had a whole bang, marry, kill. That never went well because it got real weird. But if there was a character, any character in the show that you would want to see a spin-off of, who would it be and why?
Scruffy,
Oh,
janitor, just because he seems like he's always around something interesting happening.
as like a voyeur almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a
I don't
good
think
answer.
has anyone ever answered Scruffy. I think
Nope.
usually it's a Zoidberg, but Scruffy would be great.
I mean, Zoidberg would be great, but it would be like
Yeah.
you get what it would be
It's
immediately.
like how they spun off Friends with Joey, and
Yeah.
it like
Well, that made it for 2 seasons.
there was a second season.
They forced that second season.
Yeah. I would love to see a Zoidberg spinoff. A lot of people say Zap Brannigan, but I feel like that would be one note. But it's there's as the world builds, it almost gives you these more like Scruffy is such a great that's a real left field one. I like that idea a lot because it could be it could almost be like Quantum Leap,
Yeah.
where he just winds up in fucked up places and you don't even know how, you don't know why. He just deals with it and then moves on. This is actually a new question, I think, if I can remember what I was going to ask you 2 minutes ago. Having watched the entire series, what is your favorite episode, or which one stands out to you as like?
There's a few episodes. I mean, there's a lot of funny episodes, but there's a few episodes that like actually made me feel emotions, which I think is when TV's done really well. And those episodes are the one where Frag is stung by a bee.
Oh yeah.
Sting.
And almost dies, and he thinks he's
That's
keeping
one of my
Leela alive, but
favorites.
Leela's the one keeping him alive. Like it's just a very deep. And then the prehistoric bark where his dogs.
Oh yeah,
They're
that's
reanimated.
That's the one that we're referring to.
the one. How does this all work? That's the one we'll be watching last week.
Gotcha.
But actually, we're recording
Next
last
week.
week when this episode comes out with you. But
Gotcha.
it will have been watched and released the week before.
Gotcha.
And then the time travel, man.
Yeah.
It gets real confusing.
Yeah, but no, both of those made me feel like I said, like I think when most TV is like a passive thing,
Yes.
you kind of just put on and kind of zone out. So when it can actually tug at some heartstrings, like this is a different show, but there's a show on HBO called High Maintenance, which is very well done. It was a web series first, and HBO turned it into this. I think there's only like maybe 6 or 8 episodes, but one of the episodes is. The concept of the show is it's a drug dealer, and then you kind of get the perspective of his clientele's life, and then like he comes in for a second, and then he goes. So he's the thread that connects everybody. And one episode of High Maintenance, which is an HBO show, you can watch it on demand, is told from a dog's perspective. The whole episode.
Really?
So humans are in it, but like it's really you're following this dog.
Yeah.
And it made me give a fuck about a dog. And I don't give a fuck about animals like in general. Like I'm like, oh, they're cool, but like I'm not. I can barely keep myself alive, so I'm not like, oh,
Right.
look at this dog. But the storytelling was so well done that there are no words.
I always meant to check that out. I remember when it was coming out. I think they were actually on Doug Loves Movies or something promoting it. And I can't get through the backlog. I'll have to put that up at the top of the queue.
Yeah, and they are non-sequential.
Right.
So like if you watch the web series and then you watch the show, you'll see a lot of the similar faces, and there's a little bit of like gratification from that. But each of them stands alone or tied together for like a loose narrative that
It's kind of like an
snowballs on each other.
anthology series where
Yeah.
it's just like, and that conceit where the delivery guy just kind of pops in and out depending on who makes the call.
Yeah. The other recent animated show that had the episode like that, it wasn't recent, but it was the 3rd season, I think, was BoJack Horseman. The episode where he's all underwater and he can't talk.
Yeah, that entire episode I don't think has any dialogue.
The
It's
very
great.
the very end of it,
seahorse
there's
baby.
a thing, but like it's all just like this. I don't know. It's you watch it and you're like, oh, this is good. And then there's an episode in the new season of BoJack where his negative voice is running the whole episode and like
It's like the voice in his head.
picking him, and then like Aparna's character is like, oh, it's good to know that voice stops at some time, and then BoJack's just like, and then the episode ends. So it's like it's cool. It's cool when shows like this and the other anime shows are able to really like put a little bit of humanity. Like I try to make people take truths in my stand up.
Yeah.
So it's nice when they like code it with like, look at all this stuff, but it's just like you're gonna feel like a bunch of shit about this later.
Kind of on that same line, there's that new show on Netflix, Big Mouth, the Nick Kroll show, which I just watched all of those the other day, and they're fucking hilarious. And
Yeah.
they've got some good. It's about some preteens, I guess. They're
Going through
reaching
puberty, all that,
puberty. Yeah.
Do
but
I
it's
want to watch this, or is this going to terrify
not
me?
with your daughter around, but yeah, you'll probably want to watch it.
Yeah, she her response to this show when she hears me listening to the episodes is like, she's like, "Daddy, you say fuck a lot." Like,
Well, she yelled at
it's
you
not
earlier
untrue.
today.
Yeah, but that was just for show.
It's like, watch your language.
She's really getting into swearing right now, and that's I mean, and it's. I don't remember if I said this on the show or not. Like we have George Carlin rules where it's like in the house it's fine, say whatever, don't be malicious. When you're outside of the house, you're on your own. You got to know what's good and what's not, and you have to know. Basically, you have to know your audience because like if we're up at like if I take her up to the fun house or something during the day, not during regular business hours, and she wants to swear, fine. But like if we take her to church or we're around like all of her little cousins because she actually taught my niece the finger.
Yeah.
So she was like 6, and my niece was like 4, and my sister was doing us a favor and driving her to school one morning because I think we were out of town, and they're in the back seat, and she's like, "Okay, so do you know what this means?" And then the 4-year-old's just like, "Oh," his sister pulls over. She's like, "What is?" And then it turned into this whole thing, and she gets all embarrassed and scared, but like at the same time, like it's really fucking funny when she uses swear words properly.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, you got it. Like, and hopefully by the time she
figured it
gets
out.
old, like I wasn't allowed to say any of that shit growing up, and that's probably why I'm so obsessed with it now. So she gets it out of her system, then we're all fine. Oh boy, what a roller coaster this was. Thank you so much for coming.
No problem, man.
Yes,
What,
thank you.
man.
So you've been in Cleveland for, well, now you'll probably be back in LA for a while, actually, by the time this comes out, because it's a couple weeks out. But you were in
yeah.
Cleveland for October, and now you're headed back out west to conquer the world and beyond.
I got some dates, tour dates. If you go to blazerramon.com, I have everything on there. I'll be popping up on an episode of Crashing whenever the new season of that starts.
Oh,
on
awesome.
HBO. I was on a real little role on an episode of Broad City this season. So just like popping up on shit and then just like trying to just stay high, ride my bike, and do comedy. Pretty much the
sounds like
same,
a life.
pretty much the same thing I was doing here, except I'm just in LA and like more isolated.
Yeah. There's so many more people, though. It's strange how that works.
Yeah, and it's cool because like I do have a lot of friends that I've made over the years from different parts of the country who live there now. So try to get I try to spend the most time with the realest people.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much all I can focus on. So
I mean, you pop back pretty frequently, too.
yeah, I try to
so-
come. My family's still out here, so I try to like either do headline nights. This month I was able to the Roxino in Northfield Park had me headline the club for a full weekend.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hilarities, which is one of the other comedy clubs in town, gave me one night to headline. But like just as like a business person, like I make more money doing a one show somewhere else other than the comedy club. Like if I can do the comedy club for a full weekend, it's worth it. But like for the ratio they have for stuff for one night, I had 29 people come to my niece's Sweet 16 party show I did for her, $290, and I gave that to her, and I get paid just under that up to the first 150 people at the show. So it's like if 150 people come see me anywhere else, I make way more money.
Right.
So it's
right.
hard. It's hard when like the familiarity I have with the club and like the love I have for the club kind of keeps me from being able to be a proper business person unless like I get all the familiarity that's there isn't beneficial to me
Yes.
yet.
Right.
You want it to be, but it's just all comedy clubs are the same. Like first they're like you can't have a headline night because you haven't been on TV, and then it's like, oh, I've been on TV a little bit. Like, well, you gotta be a draw. It's like, oh, okay. And so it's like there's very few places I can sell tickets, but Cleveland is one of the few that I can.
Yeah.
So it's, and that's stuff I'm learning like as I go along, like the value of like, okay, well, I'll just have to do the work of an independent show versus the like.
And I mean, your history here was built on doing the indie shows. I mean, with Chucklefuck and now Accidental, like that brand that you built with, your work and the work of several talented others is that's one of the things that I love about it is that they'll take a room that doesn't really do that and make it work.
Yeah.
And that's, that was, it's got to be hard to straddle the two.
Yeah, and it's a fine line because it's like, in the grand scheme of things, doing a one-night show here at a non-comedy club doesn't really count towards anything. Not that doing a one night at a comedy club counts for anything either.
Right.
But it's just the perception of it. Like I headlined a night at Caroline's in New York and 20-some people came, but people were like, wow, congrats on headlining Caroline's. That had to be great. And it's like, it was cool, but it like wasn't what people thought it was. But there is a difference between like people seeing you at like an actual club versus seeing you at like a bar. Like one is more like, oh, well, we got to go downtown and do this and do that.
Yeah.
Where the other one's like, oh, let's just go to this bar we always go to and just catch this night. Which I like. It's cool. Like the comedy festival, Accidental Comedy Fest, moved to Hilarities this year, and it was cool to kind of have the do-it-yourself vibes in this like crown jewel of 4th Street, which was like the first business on that street.
Right.
So it is like that is separate from me as an individual headliner, though. So it's like they both like the festival's still gonna be at the club, but like I'm headlining this time around, and then hopefully the next time I work at Hilarities, it will be for a full weekend, or I won't work there again.
Right.
But that's and I'm sure I'll get a week next year. But it's just one of those things that like you just have to kind of like
build to it.
You have to build to it and advocate for yourself and kind of just be like, I can do.
It sounds like work, man.
It's a lot of work. So it's like, I just want to get high and do comedy and hang out with my friends. But you're making me do all this other shit.
Oh, you're making me remember all the unfun parts of playing music. Well, on that note, we can be found at slurmcast.com. All of our episodes and the link to our TeePublic shop are there. You can buy Futurama-themed shirts. You can submit designs for us to put in that shop, so you get a little taste of that, too. We can be emailed at slurmcastpod@gmail.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at slurmcastpod. Rate and review us on iTunes, because that's always nice to see what people think. And you can text and leave us voicemails at 216-438-1077. I always feel like I'm forgetting something. I should have a list of these things in front of me.
No, I think that's
Yeah.
it.
All right.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, T-shirts, phone number, iTunes.
Send us money and pictures and nice comments. And if you got something mean to say, keep it to yourself. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.